Good morning everyone. As always, have to do a little bit of setup. Make sure everything is running as it should. Get a link up on Facebook. Okay. Day 17. Woof. Okay, I think we've got good stream and everything going at the moment. Lollipop, where are you off to? Is that where you're being no fun, human? I've just got one last thing to do. Check in with the staff, see how. Just check the volume's working okay. I know, Puff. Where have they gone? Okie dokes. You okay, Lollipop? Shouldn't really leave you with your halter on, should I? Not really ideal. What are you eating? Those don't look yummy, Yolly, Lollipop. Yolly. I don't think you should really be eating those. Get you some nettles if you like. You have them in your field. You should be eating those ones, I don't think. The 14 days has passed, but still. Oh. Well, good morning everyone. I hope the stream is working as it should. I've got my super staff on making sure the sound is working, because last time the sound went a bit funny. I don't quite know what happened, because I haven't really done anything different, but it seems to be working. But then it seemed to be working last time, so who knows. Honestly, getting my speech was one of the more complicated things to do. To be able to talk during a live stream. It's actually quite easy to talk during a normally recorded video, but harder to do it during a stream. And if there are any professionals out there that want to do a stream like this, because you think it looks good or whatever, I'm happy to go through all the technical, all the stuff I had to buy and get and do in order to make my computer run the stream. But hello, welcome back, day 17. We are hoping to crack that trot the rail still. Getting in towards where I think about canter maybe, and hacking. Also, Lollipop, we're going to have to fix this jump. Probably not today, but I think we're going to have to make it much more of a part of our sessions. I've seen a bit of mud on your tail that I missed. That's terrible. You're just terrible. He feels it's really nice. He's starting to feel like he's worked enough. Although he's going to be a bit fresh today as he's had some time off. But there's a shift that happens in a young horse when they go from being They go from being a young, often quite naughty. It's cute, but it's often you're kind of like, ugh, because you know a finished horse wouldn't do things like that. And it's not a huge change. Their personalities don't change any, but they just become happier in themselves. You've got itchy nose. I now can't take my foot off this or you'll knock it off. You've got itchy nose though. It might be the heat that's doing it to him today, but they get calmer and softer. So they're just as responsive, they listen just as well. But they get this lovely feeling of relaxation about them, because if you work them right, they're willing but they're not stressed by the work itself. So the exercise just makes them feel good, like it would for us. So if you're new to the stream, or if you've never seen this before, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is not educational how to start a young horse video, although I will discuss all the concepts and thoughts that I'm having while I'm working with this Wonder Arab. What this is meant to be is a record of what it takes to take a horse from unhandled, unstarted, well, not unhandled, sorry, from not being ridden to being ridden and going to a show, which we'll be doing in November. We'll be demonstrating the Wonder Arab in November. And what does it take, the daily grind of it? Because there is so much in horsemanship. We talk so much about the techniques and how we get horses connecting to us, but we don't often like to show the bit where we're struggling through hours and hours of hard work and getting it wrong. I've made many mistakes already on this stream, and I want to show that, oh dear, just because I nail my timing 9 out of 10 times, which by the way, that's me being very generous to myself, but let's just say I nail it 9 out of 10 times, I still have to deal with that 1 in 10, and because I'm human, I will make many mistakes. And of course, being on a stream and talking while I'm doing it, I will probably make even more than I normally would. And so I want to show, how do I deal with my mistakes, as much as how do I train the horse correctly, what's the things I'm looking for, how do I fix mistakes. Attaboy. Come on. I know it's a bit hot, isn't it? Be wild. You got to do some warm up, even in a hot day. Hey? We need to do some warm up, haven't we? We both do. I've got stiff shoulders. Having said that, to say that this isn't at all educational would be a lie. This is educational. It's just not how to start a young horse educational. Right, these are just general horsemanship concepts. Me working with my little Wonder Arab and going through what I'm thinking at any given moment as best I can to show what it takes, right? Good boy. Hello, boy. Well done. That was good. You got a sweetie for that. Yeah. Got a sweetie for that. You didn't figure out your back legs very well, did you? I'm really pleased with that. That makes me very happy. It's a little thing. I know it's a little thing, but we've been working on jumps very infrequently because it's not the main focus at the moment. We will jump in our demonstration, I hope. I'm hoping we'll get an LM saddle on him soon. And we'll be jumping saddle, and it's going to be wonderful. Gosh. For the moment, the focus is on getting him okay with saddling, okay with me telling him what to do, and as well as everything else, being strong enough to do everything I want him to do. So excuse Stansted Airport is back to full force, so they might be able to hear that aeroplane. We certainly don't have issues with loud noises from this yard. But yeah, we've only been doing jumping every now and then, and whilst I had to drive him on as he came into it because he wasn't properly connected, the fact that he didn't do his little dirty stop leap to the side thing when I pushed him is actually a really big deal, because when I drive him on at the jump, all it's going to do is add momentum to whatever it was he was already thinking. So I wasn't even looking when I swung my stick towards him. I wasn't looking at him, but it was pretty obvious based on his reaction that he was assessing the jump from a distance, which has been the thing we've talked about him not doing. Because he's so prancy and wonderful. Oh God, this wrist. Man, this wrist. How many times is it going to catch me out on that? Oh, kiddo. I'm sorry, dude. For anyone who doesn't know, I broke my wrists recently, and well, not recently, it was last year, but it just catches me now it seems to be doing it randomly, where I'll be absolutely fine and I won't be thinking of it, and I'll do something like that. It'll just twinge right at the crucial moment. It's annoying. Anyway, that is not how you put a Western saddle on a young horse, by the way. No, don't use that as your example. I mean, a lot of things were right, but the saddle landing was not. Lollipop, that is not helpful. It's going to make me do it up tighter by accident when you're fidgeting like that. So, lost my train of thought again. It's terrible, Lollipop. You're okay. Hey. 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 Don't mind you wandering off a little bit. So the plan for today is to hop on and go through everything we've gone through again. I really would like to crack Trot the Rail as my next big thing that I need to really crack, because we're going to have to do a lot of it to really establish like a finished horse. You have to spend a lot of time on your patterns, trotting circles, clover leaves, follow the rail, these types of things. And it's kind of like the sooner you can get into it, the better. With him, it's going to be follow the rail. That's going to be the big one that we do next. I know. At the moment, we haven't been working on circles, and I want to, for anyone that's been watching for a while, you're going to kind of go, but Jamie, you've been doing a lot of circling, a lot of bending and turning, which is true. I have been doing a lot of bending and circling, but it's very much been bending, not circles. And so what's the difference? The difference is when you work on circles, you are expecting your horse to maintain a set circle, and every time they come off the pattern, you're correcting them. Oh dear, I'm getting a message on my thing. An error message. Where have I got an error message, Lollipop? Right when I put the saddle on. So a quick check of that, make sure it's nothing ridiculous. It's going to cause us big problems. That's not cool. Okay, well apparently the stream's not going to be smooth enough. I don't quite know what that means. Still streaming fine. OBS is working correctly. So, okay, well, whatever. You ready, Lollipop? You look tired and sweaty, don't you, kiddo? Oh, young man. Okay, but for now, the main thing that Lollipop needs to get is he still needs to feel okay with the saddle. He's still a little bit unsure of the saddle. And my aide still occasionally cause him a little bit of tension. Come on, big kid. So he needs to spend more time in the saddle doing things. Oh, good little lollipop. Don't run me over, honestly. So that's important, that he spends more time in the saddle. And circles, we were talking about circles, weren't we? Yeah, so at the moment we're not really circling, I'm just keeping his nose on a bend. And the amount of bend that I want is pretty much a 10 meter, but it's not precisely 10 meter, and I'm not doing it in repetition until he gets it on his own. And this is what I want from when I say follow the rail or cloverleaf, is I want to be able to say, hey lollipop, go on a trot, follow the rail, and he just does it. I don't have to lift my rein, I don't have to use my legs, he just trots around the outside like a robot. And whilst having a horse that's a robot is not the long-term goal, attaboy, when I'm warming up, I don't want to be nagging him or correcting him, I want him to just know the pattern and just do it. And when I come into scary situations, I'd like to have patterns that I can put him on that he knows so well that they become very calming. That's where circles and follow the rail are really useful. I used it on one of my demos with Puff. He got quite nervous and nobody realised it because they thought we were just doing canter the rail. Bridleless we were as well, so we were at more risk. We were bridleless canter the rail, and people didn't realise that this was a calming exercise for Puff, because you see the horse going really fast bridleless and think, oh my goodness, wow, that's intense. But actually Puff has done so many hours of follow the rail that it becomes a repetitive calming exercise. And that's what I need circles and follow the rail, cloverleaf and point to point to become. We're not quite on cloverleaf. I think we've done a walking cloverleaf, maybe. We're not quite at cloverleaf yet. I'm tired. Oh dear. I need to see you trot on the right rein. And if you've got the energy for it, my dude, I'd quite like to see a canter as well. I know you're a bit hot. Still not completely happy with our saddle, are we? Okay. I've said it before, Western saddles don't fit absolutely perfectly. And I found with Puff, I spent a long time riding him in the Western, and his movement became less flashy, and the saddle didn't fit him completely properly. When I switched to an English saddle, I was able to get more of Puff's natural pranciness. There you go, get it out your system. You were trying to hold it together, weren't you? There you go. You could see him just all tense, trying to sort of hold it together. It doesn't get you. No, putting my string in between your back legs is not helping you, is it? Other way. Other way. Yeah. I know, you've got to get used to these things, though, it's quite important. Mm-hmm. My little lollipop. It's so hard when they're so sensitive. It's hard for them, not for us, obviously. But it's hard for them when they're so sensitive. And they notice, all horses notice all these things. Whether it's a quarter horse or a colt or a cob even, they all notice these things that are happening to them. But Arabians especially are known for, if I could use my stick properly, my word, again my left wrist is not helping me out here. Arabians are especially well known for, oh dear, are especially well known for their they react when they feel things touching them and doing things. If I can flick this as I want it to, that's what I want. And just to land on that back leg and wrap round. Yeah, I know. Maybe I just have to do it here. There we go. I know, those back legs are sensitive, hey? But a cob or a driving bred horse is sensitive to all these things. They notice all these things, but they react to very little. Where an Arabian or a thoroughbred notices everything but tries to react to everything. That's what makes them so forward and energetic, right? And of course that's what I absolutely love about them, is that they're so sensitive, right? But we have to work extra hard for these horses to help them understand that it's okay when these things happen, because it causes them a lot of stress, right? To feel things on these back legs causes them a lot of stress, and to feel that saddle, you know, maybe pushing on his back a little bit, or those tassels tapping his side a little bit, causes him stress, and he needs to understand, like, it's okay. It won't necessarily feel good, right? But you don't necessarily need to react, right? It's not going to be the end of the world, which is what you assume it's going to be. It's so tempting when you see a horse reacting this way to get, like, yourself. You know, you get yourself tense. And he's not as worried about the motion of the stick as some horses. You can see, right, when he knows it's a friendly game, he's like, oh, I get it, it's a friendly game, I just ignore it. But it's that feeling, and the sound in that case, but the feeling of the... We're not going to stop at the... We're not going to jump today on the saddle, I don't think. It's that feeling of that rope touching him that upsets him the most. When I worked for Pirelli, I was lucky enough to work with a guy named Nate Bowers, who is one of the world's best driving horse trainers, according to Pat Pirelli. I don't actually know my driving horse trainers as well as I probably should, for as much as I love driving. But I was lucky enough to get to work with him, and he had a really nice way of thinking about desensitization. He said, your horse is going to be bothered by one of three things when it comes to the carriage. They're going to be bothered by the sight, or in a driving case, the lack of sight, right? So seeing the carriage, knowing the carriage is behind them but not being able to see it, all that type of stuff. The sound of something. So you get a lot of horses that hear that whooshing sound, and they get bothered by the sound. Not so much the visual, they don't mind the visual, but it's that little sound that bothers them, because they've learnt to associate that sound with being hit more often than not. So you have the sight, the sound, and then the feel. And in Lollipop's case, the biggest issue he has is with feel. If I were to train him to drive, which I'm hoping to do actually, I'm kind of considering next year doing a similar stream, but to do with training him to drive as well as ride, because it's one of those, you can't train an Arab to drive. I've heard that more than once. I'd love to prove that wrong. Huh. Can train my Wonder Arabs to do anything. That's why they're Wonder Arabs. But yeah, it's a little interesting thing for you to think about. Is the sound definitely working, Rita? You give it a double. When I last did this, it came out like it was underwater sounds. The sound has been the most complicated thing to get working. Cool. I think it's because these boxes have all these wonderful functions that are not actually... They're not just walkie-talkies. I think maybe if I just bought walkie-talkies it might be better. So I mentioned a while back that I needed Lollipop to be so good with the saddle that even if I spooked him, he wouldn't react. Now I don't know if this is actually going to spook him or not. We're going to give it a go, because why not? It'll make him jump, that much is for sure, I would have thought. And I have it out because I've just done a de-spooking clinic, so... Oh dear. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, what's basically happened with him, oh, if I can use the whip properly, is he's gotten afraid and not believed he could get away from the problem because there's a saddle blocking him, right? It's alright. Alright. So, whilst I don't particularly like scaring my little wonder Arab, it's a really good... I was having this on the spooking clinic, really struggling with this surface, getting all tangled up in my whip. To have him get bothered by something and realise that it's okay. I was never good at cracking it high in the air. I feel like that's what I need to do in order to... There we go. Got one good one. Oh, don't like the sound of it. Huh. Damn it. The surface. It just stops it dead. It gets all tangled up in the cracker, then that's that. That's really frustrating. Stop doing that. Oh, it's really tangled in it. It's knocking my aim off really bad. Well, for anyone who would like carpet gallop, just know that it's harder to train young horses to be used to gunshot sounds when using carpet gallop. You have to be very good at cracking high in the air, which I am not. There you go. There you go, Lollipop. It never ceases to amaze me how quickly horses get used to these things, considering, you know, how much fear it created in the first place. For him to get that good that quick, it never ceases to amaze me. Oh, what an itchy eye. You did really well. Very proud of you. Yeah, I'm very proud of you. So we'll need to do things like that where we deliberately spook him quite regularly. Not too regularly, I don't want him to come in here thinking this is the scary house. But regularly enough that he's able to feel okay with the saddle even when being spooked. And so to that end, Uncle Puff is going to be taking little Lollipop out for a hack in this saddle today. I'll try and put a video of that up. It'll be a GoPro video, but put a video of us going out and about to see the world, Lollipop. And thankfully, Uncle Puff is amazing at handling horses when they buck. Next to him when he's been leading them, he's done enough training young horses to know the deal. Hi, Lollipop. To adjust this, because you take the puff on this. That's not how it's supposed to be, is it? Loser horsemanship level. Terrible rope management. Yeah, so just in case you thought that instructors don't get their ropes horrendously tangled on a regular basis, just know we do. There we go. There we go. Oh, a little lollipop. You are just so cute, it's unbelievable. Oh, little lollipop nose. Oh. Oh, he's sleepy now. It's very scary. But it was very scary. There was an explosion. I don't know what happened. There was an explosion, and then this thing touched my back, and then it all just went a bit wrong. It was terrible. It was just terrible. You always want to try and escalate the groundwork. The ridden work, you are gradually making it more and more difficult for them. But your goal is to have the groundwork, certainly in this early stage, to be 2 or 3 levels more difficult, notches, however you want to think of it, more difficult than the ridden. So while we're riding, we're thinking about maybe trotting the rail, but we're mostly just asking for that trot, taking a few steps, smiling and saying thank you, and then asking for a few more. And if we got a whole lap, we'd be really happy and we'd give them a treat and get off. And we're looking for lateral flexion and forecourt yield. But these things are things we did in the 2nd or 3rd week on the ground. And now on the ground we're working on jumps, stock whips, we've been doing flags, you know, all these much more difficult things than in the ridden, because I want him to feel like riding is easy, so that he doesn't stress when I get on. He doesn't think of it as, oh, this is the stressful time. And so often the riding becomes the stressful time. I'd rather him worry about the groundwork, where I'm much less likely to get bucked on top of or hurt in any way. That bridle really suits you, which is of course the most important thing about a bridle, isn't it? It's gotta look good. Oh. Holy dokes. And I've said it before, I watch him bucking and I don't worry about it too much. And I know that's ridiculous because I got bucked off on this stream. And yes, my ego is still sore from that. My body's not sore, but my ego is. However, I don't look at them and think that looks completely unrideable. And I also can see that I could shut it down a lot quicker if I wanted to. You could see when I was on the ground, I let him buck for a little while, then I pulled the rope in to say, no, none of that. But I let him struggle for a little bit. And riding, I just shut it down much quicker. Good little lollipop. So, I judge it as sensible to get on him even though he's still bucking on the ground. And this is quite a common misconception you'll hear. People who have studied natural horsemanship versus people who train natural horsemanship. They'll go, we want to work on the ground till we get all the bucks out and then get on. But a lot of times you do get on while the horse still has a buck in him, because it makes more sense to work on getting him to be okay with a rider and have him understand the aids while he's able to be safe at that slightly lower level. Because all of these things are not creating a rodeo, all of this wriggling around up here. But if something was to spook him suddenly, which can happen, of course, so it's not completely safe, he would buck. If there was a loud banging sound or a movement he really wasn't expecting, he might buck, yes. And I'm going to keep working on the ground to get those things gone. But whilst I'm working on the ground to improve these things, I can also be teaching him the ridden aids. And yes, of course, you can teach a lot of the ridden aids from the ground. Like, I've already taught him about lateral flexion on the ground, I've taught him about hindquarter forequarter yield on the ground, so he does already know these things from the ground, but I can explain some of the more nuancy things, because leg does feel different to hand. It doesn't matter how much we play pushing their shoulder, pushing their belly with our hand, it's not going to feel quite the same as when we do it from on his back. It's not a forequarter yield, so it's a good thought. You're offering me too much, actually. When I first started, my horse would do lateral flexion before we walked off every time, to the point where it didn't matter what aid I did, he would always do lateral flexion. And I got told off by, it'd been Jackie Chan, I can't remember which instructor it was. It's basically being like, well, can you do anything else when you first get on? And it's like, oh shit, I've really trained that hard, haven't I? But if you were to read the textbook, the first thing you do when you get on is you lateral flexion. And so since then, I've gotten better at not always being predictable when I first get on. What am I after? It's not the feet. It's not the feet. It's not the feet. The feet feels very different. For one thing, my body would be twisted. My leg would be on. But as much as anything else, my hand is low and down towards my leg. Where when I want the feet, my hand will be higher. You have to be specific, right? You have to go, this is one thing and this is another. And it doesn't matter why he's confused today by it. It might be he doesn't want to because it's a physical stretch for him. It might just be that he's thinking about other things. He's expecting to do that trot thing that we did last time. Might be I haven't done it for a little while. I need to be able to ask for this lateral flexion. Good boy. That's it. I need to be able to ask for that lateral flexion any time without resistance. And this side, yes, you're very clever. He's like, oh, it's that. Oh, for God's sake. Do I get a treat now? Oh, humans. God. Oh, it's like a comedy sketch all to itself, just watching his nose, trying to figure out what it's saying. Isn't it? Isn't it? Go. But yeah, your aids, the horse has to know them so well that he doesn't doubt your aids at any point, right? There's never a question mark. What does that mean? It's always just, I get it, it's that. Because whenever it becomes a question mark, your horse is going to be made more nervous by what you're asking. And a lot of people have this issue where they don't really properly explain the aids to their horse. You're very light today. I like it. It's a little bit intimidating, I'm not going to lie. I know, but you're very light today. I'm not asking for that trot yet. Nice of you to think of it though. So we finished last session on just one stride of trot. I really think he thinks I'm asking for it. I'm not asking for it. We're going to start with a walk. He's like, I know how to stop. I trot a few steps and then we stop. That's not what we're doing today, kiddo. He's very clever. Oh, don't get a clever horse. You have to deal with this stuff. So, all I'm trying to get across to him is the difference between each set of aids, right? So, When I bend his neck without using my leg, that means nose only. When I put my leg on, that doesn't necessarily mean forward. Right? Although I'm very glad you're offering forward, it doesn't necessarily mean that. Right? Because what I'm feeling from him is I'm putting the leg on and he's going, I get it, it's forward. It's like, no, it's not actually. This leg is that one. Yes, very good. Not forward. And if I put the leg on this side, no, it's not forward. No, it's not forward. Nice thought. It's that one. Yeah, there you go. But because last time we ended on that little trot step and I was really proud of him for it and he really knew it, he's really trying to go, I know the game, I know the game, I know the game. I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. Right? It's just a little bit intimidating. Ooh. Where are we going? Where are we going? Now, you may or may not remember, the last time I had a proper rodeo on this little pony was when we bent slightly to the right. So that's why I'm trying to keep him facing a little bit to the left when he's considering that trot. But I'm going to try and not block him now. I kept blocking him, going forward just there. But really I don't want to, I want to go forward. But I'm just not asking for it. I'm asking for a walk, you know. That trot was lovely though. But I want to try and not say no if I can. So now I'm very much concentrating on keeping my legs off, but letting him do this little prance up to trot that he wants to do, because he's expecting to do that and then get a break. At least I think that's what's happening. But it's a bit like, don't put your leg on or you're going to get a trot. And I want him to realise, like, that's not a trot cue. I'm not doing anything, my legs are just resting against you here. But he's being sensitive wonder Arab and going, I know what that is. You want to go up the long, we can go up the long side. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. And I had a feeling this might be an issue with Lollipop when he got confident, that everything means go, because even on the ground that's an issue. He's so forward and fabulous. As he gets more and more confident, I can imagine him being very forward. Huh. Yes, you're very wonderful. Yes, you are. You're very wonderful. And I think if you were to ask me what the number one thing is you have to do when riding a young Arabian, or any Arabian actually, the thing would be to make sure that the Arab you're riding knows how wonderful you think they are at all times. Because they know how wonderful they are, and they expect you to treat them with the same level of adoring that you would for someone that's wonderful. It's so tempting when they're energetic, when they want to go forward like this, it's so tempting to choose exercises that would encourage him not to be forward. Right? And it's important that you don't do that. Because if you do, you're going to basically say to your horse, don't go forward, which is exactly not what you want. Right? Forward is your friend. It just doesn't feel like it when you've had issues. It feels like this is not a good thing. It's great actually, because I don't have to I don't have to ask, I can just get it to happen. I'm going to do a hindquarter yield here, and I get the feeling you're going to think it's trot. But it's not. But it's not, you see. The leg is on, yes. What am I actually after? No, it's not sideways. No, it's not any of this. That won't make me let go. What would make me let go? That would make me let go. Yeah. This is the forward cue. This here, both legs. That doesn't make any sense. one leg on the outside to control the front end over. Not go forward, control the front end over. Yeah. And this is really normal, right, where the horse, he's got it in his head that there's a particular thing we're going to work on today, which is that trotting forward. And I'm not thinking that yet. I'm thinking about forequarter, hindquarter yields and walking exercises. I haven't actually asked for the trot yet. But he's very much like, let me trot and get this over with. So we're not going to trot today. Even though our goal is to trot the rail, we're going to work on these bending exercises and hindquarter, forequarter yields until we don't get that trot forward when I ask for something off the leg. Good. Good boy. So that he doesn't think that if he just prances a few steps, he gets a break. Because that's what he's got going on in his head today. And he's also very much, every time the leg goes on, it's forward. And whilst I'm not opposed to that, it's better than every time the leg goes on, we buck. I'm not overly opposed to it. I also need to be able to use my legs and my reins for other things, not just to go forward. Ah, that was good. Barely had to lift the reins for that one, hey? And this is the forward cue. Yes. And that could end up going forward into a trot. But this one here, that's not a forward, is it? What's that one? It's not a forward, though forward is a good thought. It's not forward, is it? I know you got confused by that one more than once. I know, you're so flexible. Now we're going to go this way. Now we're going to go this way. Good. We talked before a little bit about how much time I spend between pressuring and releasing. We're getting to that point now where we're no longer just... the pressure release is getting way quicker, where I'm actually giving him very little time in between each thing. Leg is slipped back. He reacted, he got tense, his tail swished, his head came up, all that stuff. Help him a little bit. Good, and then we go forward again. Good boy. We now might switch bends though, and I might put the leg on this side back. But that's not forward, is it? What is that? He's like, I kind of want it to be forward. Good boy. Let's bend around, hindquarter yield over, whilst keeping those front legs moving. Perfection, and stop. Oh, I love a Wander Arab. Love Wander Arabs. You guys are just the best. Oh, God. Bloody humans, hey? I think we're going to end there, Lollipop. It's an odd place to finish. You normally end with a more clear message. You try to, like last time I ended very much on that we got those first proper strides of trot and then we quit. And you could see how that really, he was like, I know what I have to do. I have to trot and then I get a break. And you get off and we're done. What I liked there was we switched bends, which is something we've not really done, and we didn't get too much tension. And he's also really willing, and he's really light, but it doesn't feel fearful. It just feels like driving a Ferrari, which is scary enough when he's a young horse, but it's also not bad, right? It's really nice, actually, to be driving a Ferrari. But I've been driving him a bit more like a dump truck, where my leg goes on quite heavy, and I pull the rein quite a lot. Where today it felt like every little touch he was trying to do stuff, which is how I ride Puff, but Puff doesn't have that same level of confusion. Lollipop still feels something and is not 100% certain that that's what it means. He still thinks, well, maybe this is the trot cue, maybe this is a go forward cue, and until that doubt is completely gone, we're not really ready to move on to other things. We need to just keep these 5 or 6 cues together. So we have the lateral flexion, the hindquarter yield, the forequarter yield, the back up, the forward to walk, the forward to trot. And we have not yet got turning at trot, front end and hind end. We have not got downward transition from trot to a walk as opposed to just a stop. At the moment I let him trot and he just stops when he wants, and I tend to find he trots 5 steps, stops, and then I have to say keep walking. So we haven't even got like a downward transition from trot yet. We haven't got any sideways, any lateral maneuvers. So the list of things is endless, and that's before we even get into contact and positioning his head. And so whilst we've spent so much time up here, he's only just now starting to really grasp what I'm expecting of him when I'm up here, in terms of turning your head, moving your feet. He's getting confused by the aids still. But he couldn't learn any of those aids while he was nervous about the saddle. You know, while he's bothered and tense about it, he's not able to learn. He's just holding himself together. So now that he's getting more confident in what's expected, we're going to be able to do a bit more explaining of the aids than we were before. That boy. You're so clever. Do you think we'll go for a hack with Uncle Puff? Shall we? Shall we go hacking with Uncle Puff? Well, I hope you've all enjoyed the stream, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow, unless I have more disasters as I have this week. But let's just say I'll see you all tomorrow for another one. You can keep that saddle on because you're going hacking in it.